We're going live. It's back. It's Julian Frederick once again.
F-A-F FAFO.
FAFO. It's like a tentative title now. We're gonna find a better, like something better for the show.
And FAFO?
Like Fruly. Like we could call it the Fruly Show.
The Fruly Show. I'm just putting my tea down here on the floor because I don't know where else to put it.
Or we call it JF, the Julian Fred Show.
Yeah, that's true. So what's going on?
So I other than being furious at Senate Dems, to the point where I literally just changed my party affiliation. I was so furious.
Did you really?
I did. I am now unaffiliated in Colorado. I am.
Why?
Because I am mad at I'm tired of this. I'm so sick of this. It's just, I can't do it anymore. I can't. I want to be a pain in the ass from the outside because I feel like they'll listen to me more as an independent than they actually will if somebody in their own party.
But now you can't vote in primaries and make them.
I'll change before and then change back.
You showed them. You're gonna change back when it matters, and when it doesn't matter, you're gonna change back again.
Just like a Democrat.
Okay. I'm a big believer in fighting from within, but we don't need to belabor it. Everybody's got their own. Way of fighting the system.
I think it's going to take pressure from inside and out, right? And I think where we get lost in the sauce with a lot of this stuff is we think there's sort of a one prescription for everybody kind of thing, and I don't think. No, I think we got to have pressure from in and out. Because you're not going to get everybody to become a Democrat. That's a pipe dream. But what I would like to see, so they're saying with the numbers that came in from Donnie's New York election, it was the most turnout since 1969.
Okay.
It was a huge, huge turnout. And I think that there is a hunger there and a need there for an independent coalition of voters that can rally around issues versus just rallying around personalities, and it's going to be difficult, but I mean, more to the point, it's just, let's put it this way. I will consider coming back if they get rid of Chuck Schumer. If Chucky goes, I
think Chucky's going to go. I don't think we'll see. We'll see if Chucky stays, if Chuck Schumer stays after 2026. I doubt it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Do you think he's gracefully going to retire at this point?
Well, he's got until 2029, right? He's up in 28. I don't know if he's going to run again. I think if he runs again, he's going to lose. I think he's going to lose in a primary. I think. I don't know.
It depends who they get. And I mean, it is New York.
Listen, if AOC runs, she's going to win. Because I'll tell you something. I am ideologically kind of more in the Schumer camp than I am in the AOC camp. But I would vote for her in a heartbeat over him because she knows how to fight. She knows how to communicate. She knows how to take it to the man, and he doesn't. And so that's the problem for Chuck Schumer. It's not that he's going to go to every single, where Schumer's been really successful is Schumer's had these press conferences he's held every Sunday, and they've always been on pothole issues, and people don't know about them outside New York. But local media shows up and he does it on Sundays because there's no other news being made on Sundays, so he's got the news cycle. It used to be. So he's got the whole news cycle, used to have the whole news cycle to himself. But that's changed. Now news is made 24/7. There are no weekends anymore. And more relevantly, it's not a question of, I supported this bill and I supported this special interest group versus that special interest group.
Right.
And, now it's literally Democrats are going through their own Tea Party moment.
Yeah.
They just want people to fight.
That's it.
And that's it. And he has not shown himself to be a good fighter. And this thing that I'm hearing now that people be like, he put the issue of healthcare premiums on the table. Great. Thank you for your service. But if you're going to start down this road and you're going to make people skip SNAP benefits, and you're going to make people get laid off, and you're going to make people miss paychecks, and you're going to make people be stuck at the airport, and all the misery that has come with having a government shutdown, then you better fucking get something for it. And
Right.
it's not just that we are all now aware that Obamacare premiums are about to skyrocket, because guess what? You would have been aware Obamacare premiums are going to skyrocket even without a shutdown,
Right.
since you're the one getting the bill.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's what frustrates me are all these weak sauce arguments where, like, oh well now, Schumer made Trump own this. He already owns it. It's in the big beautiful bill. He owns it. You could have done exactly what you just said and gone, okay, sure, pass CR,
Yeah.
and
And
gotten the same thing.
I mean,
You
there are
know.
people lining up outside food banks.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
if you made them go do that, because you're effectively telling them, take a little pain because ultimately it's going to be better for you, because
Right.
ultimately you will get your food back. Plus you're going to not have your healthcare premiums explode. You better deliver.
Right. It's or I mean, something. You gotta come away with something, not just
Yeah.
like a pinky promise that Republicans are absolutely gonna poison with, oh well, if you want this, you gotta take away, even more abortion restrictions. Like,
No, no, no. They're not going to listen. It's not
yes,
going to happen because Trump has already put a marker down that Obamacare sucks. We got to get rid of it.
right,
So, best case scenario, you're going to end up with what you have now, which is skyrocketing premiums by thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars. And what's your next play? Oh, but wait, my favorite thing is, wait a second. It's okay because there's going to be another continuing resolution in January. So we'll be right back here. Like, does anybody really believe that Democrats are going to stand up when they couldn't stand up now? Like,
right.
it hasn't gotten any better.
No, they're gonna fold because
Yeah.
Angus King said himself, "It's like, well, we tried to fight Trump, but it's hard." And it's
And it's not just Angus King, the second highest ranking Democrat in the Senate, Dick Durbin, was like, "I don't think you all understand how the Senate works." And when I heard that, I went crazy because I was
I
like,
know. I've read your
but I
piece.
was like, it's not that we don't understand how the Senate works. What did you learn between when you decided to shut the Senate down
Right.
and 5 weeks later that made you understand differently about how the Senate works?
It's what continually frustrates me, like what is and why ultimately I said, "No, I'm good," is that they don't understand this moment. They do not understand it. It seems either they're complicit, which again,
Yeah.
I hate saying that because, you know, like I don't want to ascribe intelligence where there isn't any because I think human beings mostly do things out of like ego and irrationality. Um, or it's just they don't understand. They just don't want to face up to the moment they're in, right? Because again, it's to Dick Durbin's quip. You don't understand how the Senate works, dude. It's not this collegial thing anymore. It hasn't
Yeah.
been for a while. It's
Not in
not
a
like,
long
oh,
time.
we're all colleagues and we're all friends, and it's the ultimate, sort of insiders club. No, dude, they're they're fascists. That's what they are. They are loyal to one person, one, and he's a malignant narcissist sociopath, man. He's nuts.
Yeah.
And so and that's what that this is where if there was one moment that you needed to stand strong was now. And what blew me away was Tuesday was about as a wave election in an off year as you can get. Like there's almost no other way you could see it. And their response to that is, well, we're gonna cave by Saturday. Like they're rushing to do it. I'm like, if that were Mitch McConnell would have been like, oh, we got this. Yeah, price of brick just went up, bro. Like, we want this now. We want this. We want this. Tell Donald Trump when he's serious, we'll be right over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, listen, say what you will, Mitch McConnell, he held the Senate captive in the minority.
Right.
In
Right.
the minority.
He's like a poor little box turtle now, but back then he was a snapping turtle. He's
Yeah.
vicious. And
Yeah.
it's like Schumer, I need 1/4 of that energy. Just a fourth. Like, just give us that now, right? and it's you can't even do it. So the thing is, like, after 40 days, I mean, Joe Walsh said it all the time. You just know it's just wait for the Democrats to roll over. They're gonna do it, you know. So they just waited us out. That was it. It was a game of chicken, you know. And
Uh,
Trump's numbers were in the toilet, you know. And we went again. It's to your point. We went through all this pain, and now,
for what?
yeah,
The best
that's
thing that happened to them was Jeffrey Epstein yesterday.
oh God, yeah. And I don't. I'm not sure if that was like coordinated or if the house. It was just a big fu from the house that was just like, you know
No,
what?
I mean
Bam.
it was just a question of them being able to come back into session in the House in order to get the House Oversight Committee back, so they could meet to release
Yeah,
this stuff. Um, but we don't need to belabor this. I agree with you. I am
yeah,
a Democrat. I've always been a Democrat. Unless something massive changes, I will die a Democrat. But um, I am very, very, very tired of this party behaving the way it does. I was in the Senate, and I could tell you exactly where things changed. It was prior to 9/11 and post 9/11.
yeah,
And if you were in the Senate prior to 9/11, if you're an elected official, you got to go.
yeah,
Because if your formative years were in the 80s in the House and the 90s in the Senate,
yeah.
then you have not been off the hill for a really long time to understand just how much things have changed. I mean,
Oh,
I don't think people quite get how isolated most of these senators are. Actually, all of these senators are. They are cosseted by staff. They are never among real people. If they go and shake hands at county fairs or they go and shake hands at parades, they are again cosseted by staff. Everybody kisses their ass. Nobody has the nerve to really, for the most part, tell them what's going on. They have staff who wake up and think about what's best for their boss and go to sleep thinking about what's best for their boss and wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning thinking if they missed anything that was best for their boss. They have reams of, I mean, a large number of people whose
yeah,
entire life is dedicated to making them look good and
yeah.
protecting them and protecting them. And I use the word cosseting them because that is exactly what happens. I used to be a Senate staffer. I know this, right?
Right.
And so when you live your life that way and everything is very collegial, and even if you are people who disagree with each other on policy, you all eat in the same Senate dining room. You work out in the same Senate gym. A lot of them go to prayer meetings together.
Yeah.
Um, you are the chosen. It's like it's like Brad Pitt and George Clooney and Tom Cruise and Julia Roberts and these like elite of elite of elite
Mhm.
actors all hanging out together at work on the same movie set 24/7.
Yeah.
And with people whose only lives are to make them look good. And that is what being in the United States Senate is like. And it's not a particularly heavy gig. You run every 6 years, you have to raise a lot of money, but you got staff who are going to do work for you and research for you and brief you and show up and hand you notes during hearings to ask, tell you what questions to ask. And I'm not suggesting a lot of these senators are not super smart and work really hard because they do. But my point is, you don't have to. You can kind of skate.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and Chuck Schumer is a really hard worker, but I think Chuck Schumer is operating from a workplace that has not existed for about 30 years now.
Yeah. Yeah. He's going by this outdated model, and
Yeah.
it's not there anymore,
Yeah.
you know?
So,
And yeah, no, that makes perfect sense because you're isolated in this bubble, and it's easy to fool yourself. It's easy to lie to yourself.
yeah.
When you're just like, no, it's really like this, and it's that cognitive dissonance. It's like, well, that was just the one time they did it, bro. They did it the last 30 times. This is who they are, man. This is what it is now. You know. Well, no, but in private, yeah, but that's
No,
not in public.
no, no.
No. When the rubber,
Republicans get it. You know why? Because they went through the Tea Party
yeah,
and they learned how to be scared of their voters.
yeah,
And
I think,
Democrats are
yeah,
not scared of their voters. They're about
yeah,
to be. They're about
I
to.
hope so.
Yeah.
I really hope so. And I think for this it's going to take pressure inside and out because I feel like that we've gotten into this status quo of, you know, oh well, the Republicans are going to screw things up so badly, and then it's going to be our turn, and then but we're going to follow the rules. We're going to do this, and we're going to slow roll it, and we're going to have, and then it's going to inevitably it just kind of gets watered down, and so by the time it gets served, it's like the impact is it's too little, too late, right? You have this weak sauce legislation that doesn't really affect change. It doesn't impact people's lives in a measured and meaningful way,
Yeah.
you know? And I mean, I was talking with a friend of mine this today. Like the big problem that Biden had was, and what's different with Trump now, like, and I think what's going to be worse for Trump is with Biden, we're coming out of the pandemic, the data says, like, hey, it's getting better, but that's not what people felt, right? And so the only message is like, hey guys, it's getting better. It should be better for you. But for a lot of people, it wasn't. And so there was a backlash with that. But now with Trump, it's like, it's measurably getting worse across all these other things. And, he's still saying, no, it's great. It's actually better. It's like, I don't know, man. My lying eyes are telling me it ain't getting better, you know?
Look, I mean, there's a good chance that Democrats are going to win at least one house of Congress next year,
I think so.
potentially.
No.
But that's because of Trump, right? What you saw happen this cycle is this past cycle in 25. You saw Virginia, you saw New Jersey, you saw Georgia, you saw even Mississippi, certainly the ballot measure in California, all
Yeah.
winning really in ways that exceeded all expectations. And I hope people don't think it's because people love the Democratic Party or what we stand for. It's because we're not Trump.
Right.
But then you're just reactive. And if you want to build a permanent infrastructure,
Yes.
then you have to be proactive.
Hmm.
And we can't just rely on Trump to keep fucking up, which is how we win elections.
Well, because he won't be here one day, right? And the thing is, the things that we need done are like my thing is, okay, you cave on this, you know, are you going to stand up to billionaires when they need to pay more taxes because we're going to need it? Because we got to rescue the dollar because we've upped the bill way too much, or we have programs that need to happen. Especially if this fool that's in the White House right now really drags us down into like a deep and lasting recession or whatever happens. I don't know what's going to happen, but all signs point to oof. It doesn't look good.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Are you going to have leaders that are going to be able to fight or make hard choices and then go to the American people and say, hey, this is why we did it. And I think that's what's frustrating with me is just we had that in the shutdown. People were ready to freaking take a hit if we got something. Especially the Democratic base. They just wanted to see a fight. They just wanted to see, just stand up for us, dude. Just back us. Like get us something, you know?
You know, I remember in 2009 when Obama first got elected, and I was working at CNBC at the time. And I only bring this up because CNBC at the time, I think it still is, but was at a place called Englewood, New Jersey, which is right across the Hudson River from New
Yeah.
York City. And they asked me to go cover a town hall meeting that the local congressman in Englewood, Cliffs, which is where CNBC was, or still is, I think, was having, by sheer coincidence, it's a little tiny town. He
Yeah.
was having his town hall meeting in that tiny little town. And they said, what the hell? Just it's right down the street from the bureau. Go. I said, all right. And it was early. It was like early 2009. It was like June, maybe 2009. I mean, fairly early on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I show up and I have been as a staffer, I don't know, in this case, I was there as a CNBC person, um, but as a staffer, I'd gone to a million town hall meetings. I had never seen anything like this. You couldn't get down the street. There were people screaming wearing Hitler masks with Obama's face on them, with little Hitler mustache.
Wow.
They were like, it was like a carnival scene at this little congressional town hall.
Wow.
And they had no idea we were coming. They didn't know national news was going to be there. They just showed, it was a random time of day too. It was like in the middle of the day. And I was like, what is going on? And at that point, I realized something major was happening
Mhm.
and that things weren't looking so good for Barack Obama. And don't forget, that's back when Democrats had a filibuster-proof majority. We had 60 votes for that brief period of time where Ted Kennedy was sick but came down to support Obamacare. Like, there was a couple of months, just a couple of months, I think, when they had 60 votes, Democrats, control of both houses,
Yeah.
even better than Republicans have it now.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, something's going on here that's really crazy. And the next year, you had Eric Cantor, the number 2 guy in House leadership, who lost to some random Tea Party guy
Yeah.
out of nowhere. And for people who are saying you gotta, make a choice, either first, save democracy and then get rid of the bad Democrats, Republicans did both from their perspective.
Yeah.
They got rid of the Republicans who they thought weren't fighting hard enough for them and also won the House. And
Yeah.
I believe the Senate. I don't know about the Senate, but they won the House that year. Um, I don't want a Tea Party for the Democrats because the Tea Party was nuts and it was all
Oh, yeah.
about nihilism and it was all about just destroy, destroy, destroy. And it ultimately got us Donald Trump. I'm perfectly happy with the policies that people like Chuck Schumer espouse. I just want them to be fighters and fight for those policies in a more effective way.
Right. 100%. I mean, that's I think that's the biggest problem is like with us, I think we can't go down this nihilistic path of just like we got to destroy it just to destroy for destruction's sake. It's what replaces it, right? And whether that's a place of leadership, and that's the thing. I think if the Democratic Party is going to be successful, they have to replace leadership with people that are actually going to deliver for their voters. It's really that simple. I think they've
Yeah.
forgotten like politics 101. It's like you have to deliver for the people that put you there. Period. Like, and it's what it seems like time and time again, the Democrats are just like they're either chasing independence or the mythical MAGA. Like, it's like, oh, I'm gonna get the girl that doesn't like me to like me. It's like, no, you're not. You're not. Deliver for you have like because Republicans up until this, whatever this is, had no issue for delivering for their base. They're like, yeah, we'll do that. Sure. You know. Now I don't know what they're doing. It's
Well, it's
is it
interesting because
fascism or insanity? I mean, they're both kind of they're like they
both,
overlap. Yeah. You know.
both, and what I find interesting is um, that Trump usually has a very good sense of what his base wants, but he screwed up on both counts that I think is interesting. Right, one is he's trying to convince people that the economy is going swimmingly,
Right.
which is the same mistake that the Democrats did last year.
Hmm.
Didn't work for us, won't work for them, right? Like,
Hmm.
yes, the market's hitting record highs. It did under Joe Biden too.
Yep.
And yes, you could talk about the price of things starting to come down, but it's still really high. And we all go
Yep.
to the supermarket and we all see what, a pound of meat costs or chicken
Yeah.
or anything else, right? So that's
Yeah.
one. And the second is Epstein.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like the emails that have just come out. My good. Whoa.
Well, the emails that just came out are just the emails from the Epstein estate that were turned over.
Right. Then not
That's
the
not even,
FBI, not the
yeah,
FBI stuff. You
not
know.
even the stuff. Not even the testimony, not the testimony, the the 50, I don't, not 501c3, whatever they're called, the 403s, I don't forget what they're called. But anyway, not the testimony to the FBI, none of it.
I mean, it could be 305, but then that's like that Miami area code, and we're gonna get
It is. Is it 305?
Yeah,
503?
it's
I gotta ask
305.
my. Is it a
You
305?
can go listen to Trick Daddy. It's 305. Take it to the house. See, there you go.
Oh, you know what? My husband's going to be home any minute, and he specializes in these things. I'm going to ask him. I'm like, "What's that thing called when you go talk to?" Luckily, I do not know. But what's that thing called when you go talk to the feds? Um, but he is a white collar criminal defense lawyer, so he knows. But um, I'll ask him. I
It's
don't.
what is that when you talk to the Fed?
What
I'm
is that
curious.
called when you go to the FBI and they grill
I'm
you?
curious how he's gonna like. I'm curious how he's gonna
Oh,
open up with that.
he'll know exactly what I'm talking about. He'll be like
No,
305,
he'll be like,
503.
"Should you be talking to the feds?"
Oh,
Like,
he knows I'm smart enough to know that I would not be talking to any feds without having him my counsel
well,
in
I've
place.
got a surprise coming up. Is for everybody. I'm gonna invite in David Schuster.
Hey,
Like
David Schuster.
David Schuster is going to be joining us in momentarily. You know,
Oh,
I know. Like,
where is he?
and
This is a lot of buildup. There's no David Schuster. There
no,
he is.
there's a random David Schuster has
There is a
appeared.
David Schuster.
Oh my
Hey,
Randomly.
goodness!
Hey, Julie, how you doing?
the buildup was insane, David. It was crazy. It's like there's a David Schuster. There was no David Schuster. The buildup was going on for
I know.
a full minute before you actually showed up.
You've got to blame me on that one, and
You
I'm gonna
do.
blame it on a slow Substack connection is what I'm gonna do.
That's right.
What's
How you
going
guys
on,
doing?
David Schuster? Good.
We're doing
What a
great,
crazy week, right? What a crazy
right?
week.
Ah, we were just getting through. I don't even know where to begin. We're just getting to Epstein. If you want to.
Oh wow! I feel like the GOP jailbreak has begun, right? I mean, we've got Ro Khanna seems to be sort of lowballing it by saying, well, maybe 40 or 50 Republican lawmakers are going to vote for this thing next week, and I keep hearing maybe 100. And there's 200 and some members of the Republican caucus, and they're under enormous pressure. It's remarkable.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
interesting because what do you like? How do you say no? How do you say no?
Yeah, especially, I mean, look, if Lauren Boebert can be brought into the White House Situation Room and say no to the Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General, and FBI Director, the same, and by the way, the same Situation Room where 15 years ago it was used by Barack Obama to monitor the killing of Osama bin Laden, and now Trump is doing it to try to protect himself
Could
from
we
his
talk
history.
about that for a second? Because I
yes,
actually think that's a story that has not been covered enough.
Okay,
yeah.
let's
So,
talk about it.
okay. So Lauren Boebert, who is best known for not safe for work activities at a Beetlejuice performance in Denver with her date.
She's my rep, by the way. She
Is
is.
she your
Yes,
congresswoman?
I live in her district.
You should be
My rep.
proud of yourself. That's
I've never
that's
heard anyone say that to me about Lauren Boebert, but okay.
that's a source of pride. That's that your neighbors all voted for Lauren Boebert. You live among
Ugh,
interesting people.
I
Um,
know.
It's okay. I'm gonna have Jack Schlossberg as my next congressman, so I have no right to laugh at
Ah,
anybody. I've got some wackadoodle who goes on TikTok thinking he can go be a congressperson. So whatever. Um, Listen, you've got Lauren Boebert, who is
Yeah,
a seriously like not anybody who's privy to any kind of intelligence in more ways than one, being brought into a skiff, and not just a skiff, the safest skiff in the history of skiffs.
and we should explain to people a secure, compartmentalized intelligence facility, right? Is that,
Facility.
do I have that right?
Yes, yes.
yeah.
So
Okay.
There's no. You can't record in there. Nothing. It's about as
nothing. It
secure
is
as you can
truly the
get.
safest. It is truly the safest place to have a conversation anywhere on Earth, most likely.
Right.
It is. It is where people, where first of all, it's staffed 24/7 by intelligence and security officials. It is a way for the president and his leadership team to talk to the Pentagon, to commanders in the field. It is where they watched SEAL Team 6, as David said, descend on Islamabad, not Islamabad, sorry, Abbottabad, is that what it was called? To
Pakistan,
go,
yeah.
yeah, Pakistan, to, but it wasn't in Islamabad, it was Abbottabad, to the Osama bin Laden compound. It's where George Bush watched the capture of Saddam Hussein. It's where Kennedy monitored the Cuban Missile Crisis. They bring Lauren Boebert into right, they bring her in. But what's interesting is they don't, and you have the president wasn't there.
No,
You
he
have
called her. He called her by phone, and then I think after that phone call, she agreed to go in and meet with the attorney general, the FBI director, the deputy AG.
But that's the thing, right? Not in the Department of Justice, where they also have a skiff.
Yep.
Wow.
But whatever they had to impart was so sensitive that it could only be done in the most secure room on earth. They clearly didn't impart anything sensitive to her because she is nobody they're going to impart anything sensitive to. My question is, but no, I'm not trying to be funny here. I mean, like, why would you?
But it
Right?
is
They just don't
funny
have a
though.
promise.
Why would you do this? My theory on this is that they wanted to somehow they wanted to twist her arm, and what better way to do that than to intimidate her at the White House?
Bring them to
Perhaps the White
Oklahoma.
House. Well, perhaps the White House was also nervous that she was going to record the conversation. So by doing it in a skiff, she has to leave all of her electronics and everything outside. Would Lauren Boebert have tried to record that conversation? I mean, who knows? But I mean, while they're twisting her arm, I think they're trying to intimidate her. And so, sure, come over to the White House and meet with our top people here, and we'll do it in a secure facility.
Well, maybe.
I
I have a
think
different
that
theory. Go ahead.
I'm thinking what it would be like. I want to know. I'm I'm almost positive that her cell phone probably had a cracked screen, and then the cover on the back was probably tree bark. I bet it was. Like I'm almost certain. And she's like getting ready to enter the skiff, and she's leaving it in the box. You know, because I mean, let's face it, Lauren Boebert is what Sarah Palin refers to as that girl's white trash.
I mean,
Well, and
okay,
to
I'm not
Julie's
gonna go
point a
down.
moment ago about, if Lauren Boebert can say no to Donald Trump and to the AG and the deputy AG and the FBI director
Seriously,
after a skiff meeting, then that shows not only how weak Donald Trump is, but it may show how emboldened the rest of the Republican caucus can be, who have not been invited over to the White House necessarily, and are thinking, oh my God, I don't know what's going to come out of this thing. I don't want to be caught behind this. I need to get out ahead and say, hey, I'm going to vote for transparency.
That's a great point, but I actually have a different theory as to why they did this in the skiff. I think because again, they could have done this in the skiff at the Justice Department. You don't need to do it at the skiff at the White House. You don't need to do it in the Situation Room. I think they were meeting in the Situation Room. And I think whatever they had to discuss about the Epstein files was so secure from their perspective that they couldn't trust their own skiff that is monitored by their own people.
wow.
To do it. And I think Lauren Boebert, they're like, what the hell, bring her in here. I think whatever's going on is so problematic. And we saw a hint of what I think that is in the Epstein files. And again, I don't know why the media is not all over this, but you had, and who knows what Epstein was saying, whether it was true or not, but you had that exchange between the president of Norway / the former head of the Nobel Committee and Epstein back in 2000 and I think it was 2018, where he said, right before he was arrested, a year before he was arrested, where he said to the president of Norway, or the former president of Norway, hey, I used to meet with Vitaly Churkin, who at the time was the Russian ambassador to the United States, and I would tell him about Trump. He's now dead, and Churkin died in February of 2017, shortly after Trump got inaugurated. I want to talk to Lavrov. I want to talk to Sergei Lavrov, who is the Russian foreign minister, about Trump. I've got something to say. And the answer from the former president of Norway wasn't, that's crazy. Why would he want to speak to you? The answer was, I'm going to be talking to his assistant tomorrow or next week. I'll put it up the flagpole. At best, if you believe this, we don't know whether Lavrov met with Epstein or whether those discussions ever took place, but we know from Epstein, if you believe him, that he had routine conversations about Trump with the Russian ambassador to the United States, which meant that, of course, this went right back to the Kremlin. I think that the Russians have so much, probably not just the Russians, have so much shit on Donald Trump based on what Epstein told them, that is the kind of stuff you can only discuss in the Situation Room.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a great argument. Great argument.
No, somebody was making that point, like that really kind of, because didn't Helsinki happen around that time?
Helsinki happened in 2017, and
Yeah.
don't forget, in Helsinki, Trump only allowed his interpreter to go with him, and then took all of her notes. And that was the last time an American interpreter was ever allowed into the room from Trump with Putin from then on, only Putin had an interpreter, never Trump.
Well, because even with even the meeting in Alaska was in the Beast.
10 minutes. 10 minutes in the Beast.
That was it. I mean, it's just, I mean, and what do you talk about with that? It's like, oh well, if you're, I mean, man, I feel like the tinfoil is just like
I
going off.
you guys,
You know what I mean?
I'm not a tinfoil person. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but this is all from Epstein's own emails, right? At which point do you take the guy at his word?
Well, and these are also only the emails from his estate. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that might have been collected in the grand jury investigations by national security agencies into the investigation to him. So, I mean, yeah, it could go on and on. There's one other aspect to the Department of Justice skiff, and maybe it relates, maybe it doesn't, but I think it's Allison Gill's done some of the reporting about how like 1,000 different FBI and DOJ staffers were assigned to scour the Epstein files back in March. And they did such a horrible job of compartmentalizing and setting up security that literally everybody had access to everything. So, and then by the time they sort of figured out, oh my God, maybe we need to do a better job. Well, you got 1,000 people down in the Washington area who have seen some of this stuff. And maybe the Trump administration therefore doesn't trust the Department of Justice or FBI skiff or the people who might be connected to that skiff in order to sort of know or be able to trust that what Lauren Boebert is being told, whether is that the truth or not. And so anyway.
Well, and don't forget the person who has a lot of this because she prosecuted Jeffrey Epstein before he hanged himself, is Maureen Comey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So she presumably saw all of the testimony. She presumably saw the testimony with Ghislaine Maxwell, too. She was responsible for that one, too. Of all the stupid things to do, Trump going after her dad and then firing her may be the stupidest, if she has what we think she has.
Well,
these are not people who are going to destroy evidence, right? Like, I know you're supposed to turn stuff over. Like, my view is that we will never see anything. The Justice Department will never turn anything over that incriminates Trump, because I think it doesn't exist anymore. However, if 1,000 people look through it, not all of them are going to be privy to destroying evidence. Somebody's got it.
And if there's multiple agencies, then it's possible there are copies in different places, which gets back to my theory as to why Pam Bondi, when she was in front of the Senate, a month ago, 6 weeks ago, and she was asked very specifically by Sheldon Whitehouse about the Michael Wolff assertions that Michael Wolff saw photographs of Donald Trump from Jeffrey Epstein, of Donald Trump with half-naked teenage girls sitting on his lap and pointing at a stain on his pants. And Michael Wolff said, I saw these photos. And Senator Whitehouse asked Pam Bondi, did the FBI get these photos? Do they exist? Have you seen them? And if they didn't exist, or if Bondi had, say, figured out a way to destroy them or knew for sure they would never get out, Bondi would say, they don't exist.
Yeah.
But instead, she misdirected, and she sort of gave a non-denial and then went after Whitehouse for defaming. So, and I thought that was the first time for me in all this where I thought, well, maybe there really is some of this photographic evidence, incriminating information that does exist at the FBI, DOJ, and other agencies, because Bondi's now worried about her own legal exposure if she comes out and lies openly under oath.
I mean, what's interesting about Epstein is if you look at those emails between him and Michael Wolff, he goes from, I hate Donald Trump, he sucks, I'm going to leak everything about him, to, well, maybe I could draft a statement that exonerates him because I'm scared of him. And Michael Wolff said that Epstein was terrified of Trump. Understandably so. Trump was the president of the United States, and Epstein had a lot of stuff for which to be indicted. And ultimately, Epstein did get indicted by the Trump Justice Department. And then ultimately he ended up dying a month later. And so the question to me is, if Epstein blackmailed everybody else, and it sounds like he very much did, why would we believe that Trump was not somebody he blackmailed?
Well, yeah. I mean, Virginia Giuffre and a whole bunch of other witnesses say that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell video recorded everything. And so everybody who came in, so there's video of all this stuff. And then Jeffrey Epstein would go back to various people and say, hey, I think it's really important that you give me $50 million for this financial deal because, we didn't want some of our social stuff to get out there. And so, sure, he was blackmailing everybody. It's so interesting. I had a conversation last night with a conservative who his theory as to why there isn't really much there in the Epstein files is because his theory is that if Jeffrey Epstein had this material on Donald Trump, he would have already tried to blackmail Donald Trump instead of taking his own life. The problem that I have with that is that, well, then you're talking about Jeffrey Epstein trying to basically say to the Trump Justice Department after he's been indicted, hey, I've got some materials, help me cut a deal here. And that doesn't really feel like that's something that would wash.
Well, it's very possible, by the way, that he could have cut a deal,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
We don't, I mean, he was just at the start of the process here. And I think what's fascinating about Jeffrey Epstein is, yes, he blackmailed people, but he also sounds like a guy who just had friendships with a lot of these people that
Mhm.
he may not have even been. I mean, Larry Summers certainly didn't sound like he was being blackmailed.
Mhm.
The president of Norway didn't sound like he was being blackmailed. Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson seemed to be terrified. But that's different than being blackmailed. I think he was basically a guy that was a really fun guy. They gave them all a permission structure to do stuff that they didn't want to do. Plus, he had dirt on all of them, and they probably all knew
Mm.
it. Trump certainly knew it.
I had a conversation with a friend, and I'll put this out here to see what you guys think. So, like, Trump was mentored by Roy Cohn,
Mhm.
and Cohn reportedly had recording devices in every room of his house. As one of the things that he used to blackmail people back in the day. And, so the questions I'm wondering is like, what if Trump is also part of this blackmail scheme with Epstein?
I'm sure he was, but
Mm.
it
Yeah.
doesn't matter because if something exists, it exists.
Right.
And for anybody who says that Bondi's only going to release stuff on Democrats, that's hard because right now they've got part of the MAGA base saying there's nothing to see here, nothing to release. If all of a sudden she's like, oh, look, we've got something on Bill Clinton or we've got something on Democrat A, B, or C, suddenly the MAGA base is going to be like, let's see it. Let's see it all. Thinking it's only going to be going after Democrats. And suddenly you're going to have not just Democrats calling for the release, you're going to have a lot of other Republicans calling for the release. So they're
Well,
kind of in a bind there.
Well, to your point earlier about how the Department of Justice is never going to release anything, and I think there's a strong chance. Aren't we sort of in that sense possibly headed to where we were when I was very little with Richard Nixon, right? That so let's game this out. The House is going to pass this. It goes to the Senate. I think the pressure on Republican senators becomes enormous once the House does it, especially if the vote is not close. If the Senate passes it, especially by a veto-proof majority, then Donald Trump has to make a choice. Does he actually follow what Congress has just done and set up some mechanism for releasing this? Or does he say, nope, I'm not going to? And then maybe it goes to the Supreme Court. And at a certain point, maybe either Donald Trump faces impeachment because the House has passed something and both the House and the Senate have passed something and Donald Trump's not complying. And then, so it feels like the political and legal entanglements and all of this almost start to replicate history.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're in a different time. First of all,
Yeah.
who's to say, even if the House passes this, that John Thune is going to take it up?
Yeah.
John Thune may say, because I don't know that he's running again. John Thune may say, I'm going to take the heat and coming for all of you, so you don't have to take it for yourselves. I'm just not going to post this bill. I'm just not going to do it. I don't think it passes by veto-proof majorities, even if it passes the Senate. But let's assume that you're right. I think that the Justice Department releases just what they want to release.
Yeah. Somebody's going to take the hit for Trump. Whether it's Sean Thune or Pam Bondi or, somebody's going to take it, fall on their sword, or he's going to run the clock out, in some form or fashion. I think we're going to learn about it through drips and drabs and in other places like the JP Morgan Chase emails or the Epstein state, and we're going to be stuck piecing it together from that part.
And that's maybe what then the whistleblowers, if they see that that stuff is being selectively put out there, then maybe there are Department of Justice or FBI whistleblowers who have not yet been fired under the Trump regime who will suddenly start calling up Julie Roginski or the Washington Post, the New York Times, and saying, "Hey, I got something for you."
hard to do, because if you're doing that without authority,
Yeah.
you're violating national security. I mean, like, you could be prosecuted. I mean, they are privy to testimony that should not be released without a federal subpoena. I mean, there are things that are, it's hard to do, right? And so, and again, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to pretend to be one, but there are 20 off ramps here for Trump, and I don't think we have a situation where you're going to have members of Congress of the president's own party going to him and saying, "Mr. President, it's time." They're just not going to do it. They're more scared of him than they are of anybody, their own voters.
So that brings up another interesting point, because like a lot of Watergate was what Woodward and Bernstein put out, like that put pressure on it in the Washington Post. But like, David, you were recently on a program on the BBC, and you were talking about
it was Turkish television, TRT.
Well, no, Turkish. Okay, yeah. And
but we did this whole segment about the BBC. Yeah.
Yeah. So going into a little bit of that, because we've seen over here in the U.S. where with CBS, like Trump has sued like 60 Minutes, and so like the fourth estate, which is like, maybe if government, as Julie's saying, doesn't push this out, what's going on with BBC, and like, are we going to see more of that over here potentially?
Well, so the BBC, to back up, they put a documentary together a week before the 2024 election. And in the documentary, which was largely about January 6th, they made the point that Donald Trump essentially facilitated, enabled, encouraged this big, march on Washington. And unfortunately, though, they took two clips from Donald Trump's speech that day that were essentially an hour apart. And the way they spliced it together, it's Donald Trump says, "We're going to go to the Capitol. I'm going to go with you." And then they splice it to the part where he says, "You have to show, I think they cut out the part about peacefully or whatever it was, but they basically the way they edited it, and it didn't strike me as that sort of strange, but the way they edited it suggested that Donald Trump specifically was calling for violence. Now, nobody noticed this documentary because it didn't air in the United States. It was only able to BBC's like international stuff, which was only available in Great Britain. Nobody complained about it for a year, but finally, somebody complained recently. The Trump administration got wind of this, and now Donald Trump is like, "Oh my God, I'm going to sue the BBC." So the BBC issues an apology, and the whole discussion that we had on this program on TRT was, was it a mistake? Okay, yes, it was a mistake. But my argument was it was a minor mistake, because the whole point of the documentary is that Donald Trump encouraged January 6th, and he had his own supporters that were shouting, "Hang Mike Pence," and Donald Trump didn't do anything about that for a while. So the violence certainly was encouraged or enabled by Donald Trump. And I also said that the edit mistake that they made is not defamatory, and there's no way that the BBC should settle. However, the point was made that in the United States, CBS, ABC News, all those media organizations, they are giving Donald Trump money, not because they did anything wrong, but because in this Donald Trump environment, this business environment, if you want to try to, have a merger like Skydance and Paramount had for CBS, you need to grease the Trump administration. And so CBS pays out tens of millions of dollars. And will the BBC do the same? Who knows?
Yeah.
Listen, the problem with the BBC, which is different from Paramount and Skydance, or frankly Disney for that matter, is that the BBC is chartered by the British government. Right. So you're talking about an international diplomatic incident here, where the government of the United Kingdom, of Great Britain, can certainly tell the BBC to either pay it out or not pay it out. On the other hand, people in Great Britain, I used to live there, so I know this, have tremendous resentment about paying carriage fees to the BBC. And that is, they hate it in ways that we don't, I forget, they're not called carriage fees there. They're called, I forgot what it is. But basically, everybody pays like X number of pounds, and it's not insignificant, for every TV set you have that carries the BBC, which is mandatorily carried. And so, unlike those of us who eat the carriage fees and not even realize that that's what we're paying for when we're paying for a cable bill, they know very well what they're paying for. And if suddenly that money goes into Donald Trump's pocket, you're going to have like a mass revolution.
Right.
And that is a decision only the British government, license fee, thank you. That is a decision really only the British government can make.
Yeah.
That's interesting, because I didn't think about the political aspects of it, because the BBC is part of the government. So now, you elevated this to where it's
Is that an emoluments issue? I don't know. It could be an emoluments issue. Like,
I don't know. I
you
mean,
know.
well, it's not like Donald Trump cares about emoluments at this point.
Right.
No, I know, but my point is, like, there are many different
Right. Yeah.
excuses the Brits can come up with, which is, hey, can't do it. Would be
He'll
breaking
give
your
it to
own laws.
he'll donate it graciously to the Donald Trump Library or the
The
Epstein Vault.
plane. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I have to run in about 5 minutes to go do a kid thing. But before I go, I want to ask you both. So play out, what's your scenario for what happens both to the Epstein votes in the House and the Senate? And we're less than now a year from the midterm elections. Donald Trump's approval rating on the economy is, I think, down to 32%. What does the next year look like? Julie, you go first.
Oh, I mean, I can't even tell you what the next week is going to look like. All these twists. I mean, I'm not trying to be cute about this. Like, I just don't know who knows with this guy? Like, who knows? I mean, he could start a nuclear war to diffuse attention away from himself. So I'm not going to even predict it out a month, never mind a full year. I would say that it will be interesting to see how hard that Keebler elf, who we call Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, lobbies to peel off votes from this discharge, from this resolution, from this bill. I think it's going to be hard for him because if he's out there doing it overly affirmatively, that's going to create problems for him, even with the MAGA base. On the other hand, he's very much putting all of his eggs in the Trump basket. He's now taking this to calling this a hoax. He said something very interesting, which is there's no indication that Trump is in any of these files. That is a hoax. My answer would be, okay, Mr. Speaker, if that is true, why not just vote to release?
Right.
And that's the problem that he's got, right? If it's all a hoax, I guess they're setting this up as a predicate to say, if Trump is in there, the Biden administration created this hoax to put him in there, and the whole thing's a setup.
Right, through AI or whatever, if there's photographs and videos.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's where this is going. That's where this is going. And there'll be a chunk of the administration of the MAGA base that will believe that, for sure.
Fred?
So mine is a little out there, so you have to take it with, a grain of salt, but I think that given the recent moves that Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert have made, that they come out and form a polypod and usher in the witchcraft rebellion, which brings about the galactic matriarchy. And so what you see is a sort of feminist takeover of the United States where men are hunted for sport or as breeding bulls.
What?
Which that's why I'm working out, because I want to live through this, but again, I could be wrong. I'm fully willing to admit that.
I might be able to get behind that, but I don't think that's going to happen. So the answer. What do you think, David?
I think the House passes it overwhelmingly. I think the Senate actually passes it, maybe close to a veto-proof majority. I think Thune ends up, I don't think Thune has any love for Donald Trump, so maybe he just sort of feels like, I'm going to put it out there. I don't think we'll ever see the Epstein files to any great extent because I think Trump will just dig in. We'll just try to move on. But what I also think is going to happen is I do think what happened the other night on election night, I think Democrats are going to, I have a feeling it's a tsunami that's coming next November. Democrats will pick up 40 or 50 seats in the House. They may take control of the Senate. And then all of a sudden, Donald Trump is a lame duck, and Democrats can haul all of these people who have, been part of the Trump corruption, either been with the payoffs or whatever. They can bring them in and have hearing after hearing after hearing and control the narrative in politics for the next 2 years running up to 2028. And that would be huge.
That is having faith in the Democratic Party's ability to communicate that I love. I don't necessarily agree,
Yeah.
but I would love for you to be right about that.
All right. You guys
All
have
right.
I would love for you to be right as well, David.
Well, there is a new Democratic Party. I think between the AOC, Jasmine Crockett, Robert Garcia, I think the younger generation gets it and they're more savvy. The question is, will the old generation, Schumer, will they step aside? I don't know.
We just had this discussion before you got on. I hope that happens too. All right, you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Hey, Fred, thank you very much. Julie, great
Of
to
course.
see you.
You too.
We'll talk
Bye,
to you soon.
David.
Take
All right,
care.
bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks,
See ya.
everyone.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.